coming. This is Paul Hanley, the guest speaker of the evening, and we've also got Randy Grills from the Meewasin Valley Authority, who's come to introduce him and say a few words about Paul Hanley, other than what you already know kind of thing about him. So I'd like to introduce Rennie to you now.
Thanks, Julia. Thanks, everyone. So, yeah, the wind's died down.
Yeah.
Really good. So,
Good timing.
yeah. So, no, thank you for the invite. And I'm Rennie Grills. I'm the Resource Management Officer with Meewasin. And so Meewasin's actually been involved with part of the Richard St. Barbe Baker Afforestation Area since the 80s. This half of the afforestation area falls under our conservation zone. We don't do much direct management, but we've been working with a lot of the volunteer stewards like Julia and Jeff with the Fat Tire people. And they've done a great job in keeping this place clean and looking ship-shape. So I really appreciate that. Thanks a lot, Julia. Really appreciate that hard work. With Paul, Paul and I were here on a volunteer event 4 summers ago, it was? Yeah, 3 summers ago. Yeah, so we were working, Julia had organized a volunteer event out on the west side of Richard St. Barbe Baker and cleaning up some of the garbage. And it was amazing how much garbage we were finding and how much we pulled out. We had my truck in the trailer and we filled it several times. However, what it was interesting though, as we started getting further back into the bush, we were starting to notice this area becoming more wild and more naturalized. So this area was planted, receded back in about the 70s, or 60s and 70s. 70s.
Bought in 60, yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting is if you start wandering through the afforestation area, you could start seeing a forest ecosystem forming. You know, there's evidence of woodpeckers. This summer, this spring, actually, the Saskatoon Nature Society came out for a little bit of a bio blitz, and they found the yellow lady slipper, which is an orchid, and it's a rare plant. And they found that over that way. I had one of my summer students come out afterwards, and she found some more.
Oh, nice.
So when you think about the work that Richard St. Barbe Baker did, so he started, you know, he planted trees in the prairies, he planted trees around the world, and it's more than just a tree. You know, he created ecosystems, and you know, this is a site that's it's forming its own ecosystem right now, right on the edge of the city. My first introduction to the site was in the early 2000s when I was working for Ducks Unlimited, and we bought the land right across the road, Chapel Marsh. And at that time it was an overgrazed pasture, and there was a former mushroom factory. They used to make, there used to be the old acreages there, they used to have mushrooms, it was a mushroom farm, and also they reloaded gun shotgun shells. So it was sort of a different feel to that site, and now you look at the site and it's a beautiful wildlife haven as well. Nature built itself again. So you know, it's interesting when you come out to these areas and you explore them and you get this reconnection to land and, you know, a reconnection to a forest within our city limits. With Paul and his work, you know, Paul's been quite involved with Meewasin over the years, has been a strong advocate for Meewasin, has written quite a few things about Meewasin as well, and we really appreciate it. And we're all excited to hear about Paul's new book. Richard St. Barbe Baker, Meewasin has recognized Richard quite a few times in different things. We have plaques for him down in the River Valley. There's a memorial as well, and I think you know, his legacy is going to live on, and I think it's something that Saskatoon we have to be proud of. So with that, I'll pass it back to you. So
Thank you very much. That was awesome. And Paul Hanley, this is somebody who personally knew Richard St. Barbe Baker, and now he's delved into a bit more of the biography, and so I'll give it over to you.
Thanks.
Great.
Thanks, Renee. It's good to be here with you folks and just tell you about St. Barbe Baker and my new book. I also wrote the 25-year history of the Meewasin Valley Authority. St. Barbe Baker did make a little appearance in there. So this place is named after him, and I guess he in a way is kind of, to me, like a conservation superhero. Starting in the 1920s, from about 1920 to 82 when he died, he was just on a worldwide tour, constantly traveling everywhere, encouraging people to plant trees to save the planet, to save humanity. So I think he was possibly one of the first people to do that on a worldwide scale. So that's why I called him the first global conservationist. So today we think of people like Jane Goodall and David Suzuki. They're known everywhere for their work, but he was the first person like that who was trying to raise consciousness on, something like 100 countries he traveled. He started the first environmental non-governmental organization that went global. It's called the Men of the Trees. It's now the International Tree Foundation. And he started that in 1922 in Kenya. And at one point it had 5,000 members in 108 countries. So it's quite a legacy he started. One of the things that I find very interesting is the impact that he had on a number of people through little things that he did. So for example, he would go and he'd give little talks like this to people, and he'd do radio interviews and newspaper interviews, and some people heard those things and went on to make a great difference. So for example, there's a fellow named Tony Renato, and he was an Australian. One time he was with his father and they were visiting a farmer, and he noticed in a shed a great big pile of books. And on the top of this pile was a book called Sahara Challenge by Richard St. Barbe Baker. And he picked up the book and it inspired him to become a forester. He went to Niger later and developed a whole new method of reforesting the desert. And working with the farmers there, they were able to reforest 12 million acres of the desert in Nigeria. And Scott Poynton is another person, the same story. When he was 15, he heard a radio broadcast with Richard St. Barbe Baker, was inspired to become a forester and started something called the Forest Trust. And what they did was they got the furniture industry to change all of their wood purchases towards sustainable forestry. And now they've gone on to industry after industry, working with them to change their practices to go towards sustainable wood management. And there's a number of stories like that. One of the most interesting is a guy named Felix Finkbeiner. And he started, when he was 9 years old, he had a school project and he was supposed to write about the environment. He heard about Richard St. Barbe Baker and Nobel laureate Wangari Maathai, who were both doing the same kind of work, promoting tree planting. And he wrote this paper, and then he started an organization for children called Plant for the Planet. And over the years, they've developed a whole program where they have child tree ambassadors. And he is a really good publicist, so he started working with people like Harrison Ford, Prince Rainier of Monaco, and so on. They had this great campaign where he would be standing with them and he'd have his hand over their mouth and he'd stop talking and start planting. And these kids really got something going. And now he's 19 years old, and his program has taken over the United Nations Environment Program's tree planting effort. It's supposed to be planting 1 billion trees, and they changed the name to 1 trillion trees. And their goal is to plant 1 trillion trees. There's about 3 to 4 trillion trees in the world, so now we're talking about a major tree planting campaign. They've planted 15 billion trees so far, and again inspired by Richard St. Barbe Baker. So I found it really interesting how sometimes the little things that you do have more impact than the big things that you do. So he tried in the 1950s to create a massive program to reforest the Sahara Desert, because he believed it used to be a forest. And he did an expedition through the desert, drove through it in a vehicle, found tree stumps in the middle of the desert and so on, and started this campaign. And he said we should build a great green wall across the Sahel region of the Sahara. But nobody would listen to him. They thought he was crazy. But today they're planting a great green wall across the Sahara. And some countries like Niger are doing a really good job of So some of his ideas were kind of way out at the time where he was kind of like a voice crying in the wilderness. People didn't listen. But eventually some of these ideas are taking hold and are happening around the world. His organization, Men of the Trees, which is now called, in Australia, is called Trillion Trees as well. They had, for example, the Guinness Book of World Records for the most trees ever planted in an hour. It was like 150,000 trees. So they had this massive, all the students plant trees. So just some of the impacts of the Guinness. And then, of course, there's his connection to Saskatoon. So when he was a young man, he came here to, decided to homestead here in Canada. And he came to Beaver Creek and was a homesteader. He failed as a homesteader, but he also became one of the first students at the University of Saskatchewan, and was a lumberjack up at Big River, where he, which I guess at the time was the largest sawmill in the British Empire, and he saw all of the bad forestry practices, became aware of them, and that was one of the triggers he had for becoming a forester. He also spent a lot of time with people from Whitecap Dakota First Nation, which is not too far from Beaver Creek, and said a lot of his inspiration came from listening to their stories and so on. And throughout his life, he was very connected with Indigenous people. In Kenya, when he went there, he became the first white person to be inducted into their secret society of elders in the Kikuyu tribe, and became very involved with the Maoris in New Zealand and so on. So basically, from the time he was a little boy, just a little toddler, he was planting trees with his father, who was a nurseryman, and he was here in Saskatoon in 1982 to plant his last tree when he was in a wheelchair, and he got up from the wheelchair and helped a bunch of children plant a tree, which is now marked on the Meewasin Trail right by the Diefenbaker Center, his last tree, and a couple of days later he died. And he is buried in Saskatoon. So anyways, that's some of his story, and I can answer questions or talk more with him, but it's kind of cool for me.
That's very awesome. I learned quite a lot of stuff that I hadn't realized about him before, so that's very awesome. We'll say thank you to Paul, and I'll let Richard Curbs say a couple of words, and then if you guys want questions to either anybody, Renee, Richard, or Paul, you can ask them. But why Richard Curbs is out is he's representing the SOS Elms Coalition, and I believe that one of the things that Richard St. Barbe Baker wanted to do on his last trip to Saskatoon was to try to establish a branch of the International Tree Foundation here, and SOS Elms Coalition is the advocate for the trees around Saskatoon. They're a bunch of foresters and grassroots people that have joined the group, and so I'll leave it over to Richard to introduce the SOS Elms Coalition, and if you want to say anything regarding Paul Hanley too,
Okay, thank you, Julia. Yes, we owe a lot to Julia, really we do, because of, she's the one that really brought the forestation areas here to our attention. And because of course it's a big job to try to advocate for the urban forest. And this was a little corner that had been preserved but more or less forgotten. And so thanks to Julia and your associates and all the hard work you've done.
It's been quite a few community associations and many green groups. It's been a very big group effort, and it's much appreciated.
Certainly in the spirit of St. Barbe. Very good. Yes, well, we started in '92, which is, I guess that's about 10 years after St. Barbe's death. And he was certainly in our minds when we started. He was well known, and one of our early members was Robert White, a good friend of yours, Paul. And on and off, he was a very important advocate and supporter for us. And he brought along quite a bit of help from the Baha'i community as well. And it's unfortunate that Robert couldn't be here tonight. And I must apologize for getting here late, beyond circumstances beyond my control. In any case, as I say, we started as a citizens group to advocate for the American elm in particular. We've since broadened to be covering the whole of the urban forest, both the planted trees and the remnants of wild trees that are made in Saskatoon. And in '92, when we started, Dutch elm disease had just entered into the southeast corner of Saskatchewan, and it was contagion. Just entered into the southeast corner of Saskatchewan, and it was contagion killing the American elm, and not much was being done by either provincial or municipal governments in most places. And so we took on this task. We had a very dynamic president in our first 5 years. She literally traveled all over the southeast of the province to promote the awareness and the need for better action. And our efforts did lead to both the provincial government and the city of Saskatoon greatly increased their effort going into monitoring for Dutch elm disease. And it's of course a hopeless case in the wild stands of elm, but in our communities of Saskatchewan, we've lost a lot of American elm to Dutch elm disease, but Saskatoon is very special because we've had only one case here, and it was promptly identified and removed. So that's one feather in our cap. But of course, the battle is never over. There's so many threats to our urban forests from, as if it wasn't enough from natural things like Dutch elm disease and other pests. We've got several on the horizon, and things like the cottony ash bacillid, which has been killing our ash trees. But then on top of that, it's a continual battle with the various governmental authorities to regulate infill construction, because it's a good thing to have high density in the center part of the city, but the center part of the city is where the old mature trees are as well, and it's a continuing job we have for lobbying. And in any case, we do have a number of projects that we've carried out, and one of our most recent is we have a tree tour guide to the special and unusual or especially nice specimens of trees in the city of Saskatoon. And if any of you are interested, I'm happy to give you a copy. And of course, I'd be happy to take your name, and if you'd like to join our mailing list, or to join our membership is only $10 a year, and you can have the satisfaction of knowing, as Julia has implied, we are here in the spirit of St. Barbe. And actually, Julia pointed it out to me. I didn't realize that in his last visit here, St. Barbe had specifically noted that just for historical, nostalgic reasons, since this is where he really started his appreciation of trees, that we feel kind of honored, although it's not official, that we are carrying on what he devoted his whole life to. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
So I think we have three awesome speakers here on behalf of National Tree Day. Paul Hanley is a great environmentalist and brings a lot of attention to environmental concerns, and he's done an excellent biography of Richard St. Barbe Baker. And Richard and the Great SOS Elm Coalition is doing a great job preserving our trees in the city of Saskatoon and the surrounding area. And Renee representing the Meewasin Valley Authority. If it wasn't for them, this area wouldn't be managed, and the riverbank wouldn't be a phenomenal place like it is with all our trails and the Cranberry Flats and the Beaver Creeks and all that wonderful stuff. So let's give another big round of applause for all of our speakers here today. And thank you also for coming out. I think that what you did to come out on turned out that we didn't have snow today. It turned out to be not too bad of a day. The wind has calmed down. And thank you to all of you to appreciate the National Tree Day and to come out to see the Afforestation Area. So,
I do have books for sale.
yes, that's right.
I can even take credit cards.
Cool. So, yeah, if anybody would like a copy of Paul Hanley's book. And Paul, when is your next showing? It's McNally Robinson, you said?
November 20th is technically the book's not out yet.
Right.
We do have copies, but November 20th there's going to be a launch at McNally.
Right. So if anybody wants to hear a speech maybe a bit longer and maybe inside, then would you have your slideshow at
Yeah,
that time?
slideshow.
Oh, okay. And that time you'll have a slideshow. So if you let people know about that on November 20th?
Yep.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Spread the word. So,
Thanks for that.
yeah, and thank you for coming, and thank you guys for coming as well. Yeah.
That book, I did a course on plants through the, well, let's see, the historical and social significance of plants, and that book surface was given to the class, so that you can go find the oldest tree in town and the biggest tree in town. You just look at there's the addresses.
Isn't it awesome? Yes,
Yeah.
they did a good job.
There's another fellow now, he's on Facebook and he finds trees around the city and posts almost every day something.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Do you know him?
Yes,
I can't remember his name.
we actually we found out about him just this summer, and he has attended one of our board meetings. And he's very enthused, very knowledgeable about trees, and he has joined. We're hoping that he'll show even more interest to join our board as well,
Right.
because the guy is quite an
Almost
encyclopedia.
every day he'll have a picture. Look at this, and there'll be like a sugar maple or something, which supposedly don't grow here.
Right.
Exactly.
And he'll have pictures.
It's Greg, can't think of it right offhand, but if you go to our website, I think it'll be mentioned there. In our, I'm not sure, but in any case, if you send a letter to our website, they'll respond.
Okay.
In any case, we searched high and low to find special trees to put into this booklet. But this fellow, I think he calls his website is something simple like Special Trees of Saskatoon.
Yeah.
If you Google something like that, I'm sure you'll find his Facebook page. It's a Facebook page, right?
Yes, Facebook. Yeah.
Oh. So, like Paul said, it's surprising. He turned up. We thought there was only one species of the rubber plant, rubber tree, but he found two others.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Right.
it's things like that.
Yeah, they're not good,
And,
yeah.
By all means, search up that. Is anybody here who has not got one of these? Our address in